In a small town surrounded by green hills and dusty roads, there lived two twin sisters named Mira and Lena. They were 12 years old, kind-hearted, and always together. Their home was a small wooden house on the edge of the town. Their father worked as a mechanic and their mother sewed clothes for the neighbors. Life was not easy for them, but they never complained. They shared everything, even a single pair of school shoes. When one went to school in the morning, the other waited until afternoon to wear the same shoes for her class. Mira and Lena studied at a public school named Bright Star Academy. It was a school where both rich and poor children studied together. Some students came in cars wearing new shoes and fancy bags. The twin girls walked barefoot most days, carrying their books in old cloth bags. They never minded, but others often laughed at them. One morning, the sky was cloudy and the wind was cold. Mira and Lena walked to school holding hands. Their mother had given them a small piece of bread for breakfast. They smiled at each other as they ate it while walking. They loved singing together, and sometimes they sang softly on their way to school. Their voices blended so perfectly that birds often stopped on tree branches to listen. When they reached the school gate, they saw a group of older students standing near the entrance. One of them, a boy named Ryan, laughed when he saw the twins. Ryan was known for making fun of others. He whispered something to his friends, and they all laughed loudly. Mira lowered her head, but Lena held her hand tightly and said softly that they should not care. During the morning assembly, the principal announced something exciting. The annual school talent show was coming next week, and students were invited to perform songs, dances, or plays. The crowd cheered. Mira and Lena looked at each other with shining eyes. They both loved singing and had dreamed of performing one day. At lunchtime, they sat under a tree eating their simple meal of rice and vegetables. A group of girls from their class passed by. One of them, a rich girl named Melina, smiled in a strange way and said that maybe Mira and Lena should sing at the talent show. Her tone was not kind. Her friends giggled. They said the twins could make everyone laugh with their poor clothes and funny faces. Mira felt hurt, but Lena whispered that maybe they should really join the show. Mira asked how they could sing without proper clothes or music, but Lena said they would sing with heart. She believed that voice was stronger than looks. The next day, they went to the teacher, Miss Grace, and asked if they could join the talent show. Miss Grace looked surprised but smiled gently. She had seen how kind and hardworking the twins were. She asked what they would sing. They told her they would perform a song their mother used to hum while working. Miss Grace agreed and wrote their names on the list. When Ryan and Melina heard about it, they laughed again. They told others that the twin girls were going to perform as a joke. Many students started whispering that the twins would embarrass themselves. Mira became nervous, but Lena kept her faith. She said that they were not singing for others to laugh. They were singing for their mother and father, who always worked hard for them. At home that evening, the twins told their parents about the show. Their mother's eyes filled with tears of pride. She said she would sew them matching dresses from old fabric pieces. Their father smiled and promised to fix their shoes so they could walk proudly on the stage. That night, the family sat together, and the girls sang softly while their parents listened with closed eyes. The house was small, but in that moment it felt like a palace filled with warmth and love. The next few days passed quickly. Every evening after homework, Mira and Lena practiced their song near the river behind their house. The river made a soft sound as it flowed, and the breeze carried their voices far across the fields. Their little brother often sat nearby, clapping for them. Even the old neighbors stopped to listen and said that the girls had voices like angels. Meanwhile, at school, rumors spread. Some students said they were brave. Others said they would fail and make everyone laugh. Ryan made jokes every day, and Melina planned to record the performance on her phone. They wanted to share it online for fun. The twins did not know about this plan. They only focused on their song and the feeling it gave them. On the morning of the talent show, the school hall was decorated with colorful ribbons and paper flowers. Students were excited and nervous. Parents were also invited, and the seats were full. The principal gave a short speech and reminded everyone that true talent comes from effort, not appearance. Mira and Lena sat backstage in their simple handmade dresses. They looked at other students wearing shiny costumes and felt small for a moment. But then Lena smiled and said that they had something more precious. Mira asked what it was, and Lena said it was truth. Their song came from their heart, and that was enough. When their turn came, they walked on stage together. Some students whispered and giggled, expecting something funny. Mira felt her hands shake, but Lena held them tight. The music teacher nodded to them. The hall became quiet. Mira started singing the first line, and her voice was soft like a morning breeze. Lena joined in the second line, and their voices joined together perfectly. It was a song about love, hope, and dreams. Every note was clear and full of emotion. The sound echoed through the hall, touching every heart. At first, the audience was silent, then slowly their smiles faded. Even Ryan and Melina stopped whispering. The twin girls closed their eyes and sang as if they were telling their life story. Their voices rose higher and stronger, and many people felt tears forming in their eyes. When the last line ended, there was a long silence. Then the hall burst into loud applause. The teachers stood up. The principal wiped his eyes. Mira and Lena looked at each other, surprised. For a moment, they did not move. Then they bowed together with shy smiles. That moment changed everything. The girls who were once laughed at had made everyone feel something deep and real. But they did not yet know how much their song would change their lives in the days to come. The sound of clapping still echoed in the school hall as Mira and Lena walked off the stage. Their faces were glowing with surprise and happiness. They could not believe that everyone had stood up for them. Even the teachers who usually looked busy were smiling proudly. For the first time, the twin girls felt that their voices had real power. Miss Grace came running backstage and hugged them both. She told them that their performance had touched every heart in the hall. She said she had never seen so many students cry during a school event. Mira looked at her sister and whispered that their dream had come true. Lena smiled and said it was only the beginning. When they walked home that evening, the sun was setting, painting the sky orange and gold. Children from the neighborhood were waiting near the small bridge. They shouted their names and clapped. The twins had never felt such joy. Their parents were standing at the door when they reached home. Their father's eyes were full of pride, and their mother was holding a small flower garland she had made for them. She placed it around their necks and said they had made the whole family proud. That night, they could not sleep. They kept remembering the sound of applause. Mira said she felt like she was still standing on stage. Lena said she could still see the faces of the audience filled with emotion. They both laughed softly and promised to keep singing together no matter what. The next morning at school, something strange happened. The same students who had laughed at them were now greeting them with smiles. Some asked for pictures, and others said their song was beautiful. Even Ryan came to them and said they sang well. His tone was half shy and half proud. Mira thanked him politely, but Lena could see that he was still embarrassed about how he had treated them before. During the lunch break, Melina and her friends walked toward the twins. Mira felt nervous again, but Lena stood straight. Melina said she had recorded their singing and wanted to show them something. She took out her phone and played the video. The sound was clear and their voices filled the classroom again. Many students gathered around to watch, but something unexpected had happened. Melina had uploaded the video online the previous night. It had already spread quickly across social media. The video had thousands of views and hundreds of comments. People from other towns were praising their voices. Some wrote that their singing made them cry. Others said their voices were pure and full of feeling. Melina looked surprised. She said she only uploaded it for fun, but she did not expect such a reaction. Mira felt speechless. Lena said maybe fate had decided to make their voices travel far. By evening, local news pages started sharing the video too. Reporters called the school to confirm the story of the twin girls who had sung from the heart. The principal was proud and said the school supported all kinds of talent. Miss Grace received many calls from people asking about the girls. She decided to tell their parents about it. When the twins reached home that day, they saw a crowd outside their small house. Some were neighbors, while others were strangers holding cameras. Their parents looked surprised but calm. A man from a local news channel was there. He said he wanted to interview Mira and Lena about their performance. The girls were shy at first, but their mother encouraged them. The reporter asked how they learned to sing so beautifully. Mira said their mother used to hum songs while sewing clothes, and they just followed her voice. Lena added that singing made them forget their worries. The reporter smiled and said their story would inspire many children. He filmed them singing a short song again. That night, their faces appeared on the local news. The headline said, "Twin sisters from small town win hearts with their voices." The townspeople were amazed. Some teachers cried while watching. The next morning, the school was filled with excitement again. Everyone talked about the news and said they were proud that the girls studied there. But fame also brought challenges. Some students became jealous and said the twins got lucky. A few teachers warned them not to lose focus on studies. Mira started feeling nervous again. But Lena reminded her that they should stay humble and keep singing for love, not for fame. Days passed, and their story continued to spread. A famous music teacher named Mr. Daniel watched their video and sent a message to the school. He said he wanted to meet the girls. He was known for training young singers and helping them reach big stages. Miss Grace told the twins about it, and they could hardly believe it. They thanked her and promised to do their best. The meeting was arranged in the school hall. Mr. Daniel arrived in a neat suit, carrying a small notebook. He had kind eyes and a calm smile. He asked the girls to sing the same song again. When they started singing, his eyes closed as he listened. When they finished, he said softly that they had a rare gift. He told them that their voices were full of truth and emotion, something that could not be taught. He offered to train them for free. The principal agreed, and their parents cried with joy. It felt like a dream. Every evening after school, the twins began practicing under Mr. Daniel's guidance. He taught them how to control their breathing, how to stand on stage, and how to express feelings through music. They practiced under the shade of trees, near the same river where they had once sung alone. The training was not easy. Sometimes their throats hurt and sometimes they grew tired, but they never gave up. Mr. Daniel said their strength was not just in their voices, but also in their hearts. He told them that true music comes from pain, hope, and love. Mira and Lena understood those feelings well. One day, Mr. Daniel told them about a regional singing competition that was coming soon. The best young singers from many schools would take part. He said they should try. Mira looked unsure, but Lena said they would do it. They had already faced laughter once and turned it into applause. They could do it again. The news of their entry spread through the school. Some students cheered for them, while others whispered that they would fail against trained singers. Mira tried to ignore the comments, but she could not help feeling afraid. Lena stayed strong and reminded her that they had each other. At home, their parents supported them with all their heart. Their mother prepared herbal tea to keep their voices clear. Their father fixed a small light near the window so they could practice at night. Their little brother clapped after every song. The small house was now full of music and hope. As the competition day came closer, the twins practiced harder. They sang early in the morning and again in the evening. Their voices grew stronger, their confidence deeper. Even the neighbors came to listen and said the girls made them proud. On the last evening before the competition, they sat near the river again. The sunset made the water shine like gold. Mira asked what would happen if they lost. Lena smiled and said losing did not matter because their real victory was in being brave enough to try. Mira nodded and looked at the water. The reflection of the sky made her feel calm. When they returned home, their mother hugged them tightly. She said she did not care about prizes, she only cared that they sang with love. Their father placed his hands on their heads and said they were already winners for him. The twins smiled and went to sleep early, dreaming of the stage that waited for them. The next morning, the school van came to pick them up. They carried their song in their hearts, ready to face the world again. The morning of the competition was bright and full of excitement. Mira and Lena sat in the school van holding hands. They were both dressed in neat white dresses that their mother had sewn with care. Their hair was tied with blue ribbons and their shoes were shining after their father had polished them again and again. The road to the city was long, but their hearts were calm. They watched the trees pass by and softly hummed their song to keep their voices warm. Mr. Daniel sat with them, holding a folder with music notes. He smiled and said they had already done the hardest part by believing in themselves. Mira smiled shyly, while Lena nodded with quiet confidence. When the van reached the city auditorium, the girls looked around in wonder. The building was large and the banner outside read, Regional Young Voices Competition. Children from many schools were there, dressed in colorful clothes, holding instruments, and practicing in small groups. The twins stepped out of the van and took a deep breath. The hall inside was even more beautiful with shining lights and a huge stage. They could hear music coming from all directions. Some students were singing high notes. Others were playing piano or guitar. Mira felt nervous, but Lena whispered that they were here because they deserved to be. When their turn for rehearsal came, they walked to the stage quietly. Mr. Daniel stood near them, giving a small nod. They began to sing a soft melody. The sound filled the empty hall. Even the event staff stopped for a moment to listen. When they finished, one of the judges said that their harmony was rare and pure. It made Mr. Daniel smile proudly. After the rehearsal, the girls sat backstage and watched other performers. Some were very talented and confident. A few even had personal coaches helping them. Mira whispered that they might not win, but Lena reminded her that it was not about winning or losing. It was about singing with truth. As the show began, the audience started filling the seats. Parents, teachers, and music lovers came to watch. The hall buzzed with excitement. Backstage, Mira and Lena could hear applause after every performance. They held each other's hands tightly, whispering the lyrics to their song to keep calm. When their turn was announced, a soft hush spread through the hall. The announcer said, "Next, we have Mira and Lena from Bright Star Academy, the twin sisters whose school performance touched many hearts." The crowd clapped warmly as the girls walked onto the stage. They stood close together under the bright lights. Mira took a deep breath and Lena smiled to give her courage. The music started. The melody was simple but full of emotion. Mira began with the first verse, her voice soft like a feather in the wind. Lena joined her after a few seconds, and their voices blended perfectly. Their song was about dreams, love, and hope for a better tomorrow. Every line spoke about finding light in darkness, about believing even when the world laughs at you. The audience became quiet, as if holding their breath. The sound of their voices filled the hall like warm sunlight. When the song reached the high note, Lena sang with strength, and Mira's voice followed like a soft echo. Some people in the audience wiped their eyes. Even the judges leaned forward, listening with full attention. When the last line ended, there was a moment of deep silence, then the hall exploded with applause. People stood up again, just like in their school performance. The twins bowed shyly and their eyes sparkled under the lights. Mr. Daniel stood backstage with tears in his eyes. He clapped harder than anyone else. For him, it was not just a performance. It was proof of courage and heart. After leaving the stage, the girls sat together, shaking with emotion. Mira whispered that it felt like a dream. Lena said dreams come true when you keep walking toward them. Mr. Daniel joined them and said they had sung like angels. He reminded them that no matter what the result would be, they had already won people's hearts. The competition continued with more singers and groups, but many in the audience kept talking about the twin girls. Their performance had left a mark that others could not erase. When the final results were being prepared, the tension grew. Mira closed her eyes and prayed silently. Lena sat quietly, holding her hand. Finally, the judges came on stage with a list. The announcer read out the names of winners for each category. Third place was given to a group from the city music school. Second place went to a solo singer with a powerful voice. Then came the moment everyone waited for. And the first prize for the regional competition goes to Mira and Lena from Bright Star Academy. The crowd cheered loudly. The twins looked at each other in shock. Mira covered her mouth and Lena laughed with tears in her eyes. They walked to the stage as the announcer placed golden medals around their necks. Mr. Daniel joined them and raised their hands proudly. Cameras flashed and their smiles shined brighter than the lights. After the ceremony, many people came to meet them. Some asked for pictures, others asked about their story. Reporters again surrounded them. One of the judges told them that their singing came from the soul and that no technical skill could match such honesty. When they reached home that evening, their whole street was filled with people. Neighbors clapped as they walked to their house. Their mother hugged them tightly, unable to stop crying. Their father smiled proudly and said that all his hard work was worth it just to see this day. Their little brother jumped around holding their medals. That night, they sat around a small table. Their mother cooked their favorite meal with the little money she had saved. The family laughed and shared stories. Mira said that the stage lights were so bright that she could not even see the crowd at first. Lena said she could hear their hearts beating together while singing. Their parents listened with warm smiles. The next few days brought even bigger changes. Newspapers printed their pictures with headlines saying, "Twin voices that touched the nation." Radio stations played recordings of their songs. Music studios started contacting Mr. Daniel, asking if the twins could perform at larger events. At school, they became heroes. Students who once laughed at them now treated them with respect. Even Ryan and Melina came to them one morning and said they were sorry for the way they had behaved. Mira hesitated, but Lena smiled and said it was all in the past. They all shook hands, and from that day, the laughter turned into friendship. One afternoon, the principal called the twins to his office. He told them that a national singing competition was coming soon, and they had been invited to perform as special guests. The girls could hardly believe it. Their journey from being teased at school to singing on national stage felt like a miracle. Mr. Daniel promised to help them prepare again. He said that this time, they would not only sing but also show the world that true music could rise from any place, rich or poor. Mira and Lena promised to work harder than ever, their days once again filled with practice and hope. Sometimes they practiced under the sky, near the same river where they had started. The water carried their songs far into the distance, just like before. One evening, as the sun went down, Mira asked Lena if she ever imagined their lives would change so much. Lena smiled and said she always believed that songs born from pain could heal others. Mira nodded and looked at the fading light. She said that maybe their voices were meant to remind people to be kind. Their story was no longer just about two poor twin girls. It had become a story about faith, courage, and the beauty of never giving up. And as they looked toward the new stage waiting for them, they knew that their journey had only begun. Weeks passed quickly after the regional competition. Mira and Lena became known in their town as the twin singers who made everyone proud. Their faces were on posters in the school corridor, and teachers often mentioned their names to inspire other students. But for the twins, life remained simple. They still helped their mother sew clothes and their father in his small workshop after school. Fame had not changed their hearts. Every evening they continued to practice near the river where their journey had begun. The calm sound of water helped them focus. Mr. Daniel visited them twice a week to teach new breathing exercises and songs. He reminded them that true singers never stop learning. Mira and Lena listened carefully to every word, knowing how lucky they were to have him as their guide. One day, while they were practicing, Mr. Daniel received a call from the National Music Organization. They wanted Mira and Lena to perform at the National Young Talent Concert in the capital city. It was not a competition this time, but a special event, where the best young artists from the whole country would perform in front of famous musicians, media, and even government officials. When the twins heard this news, they stood speechless. Mira held Lena's hand tightly and whispered that it sounded too big for them. But Lena said softly that dreams always look big before they come true. The next few weeks were full of preparation. Mr. Daniel helped them select a new song that carried an even deeper message. It was about unity, kindness, and hope for a peaceful world. The lyrics spoke of how one heart could change many lives through compassion. The song was simple yet powerful, and the girls loved it. Their mother worked late at night to make new dresses for them. She chose soft blue cloth that shimmered faintly in the light. Their father repaired their old microphone so they could practice at home. Every family member played a small part in helping the twins get ready. When the day of travel came, the whole town gathered to send them off. The school principal, teachers, and many students waved as the bus left. People cheered and said the twins would make their town proud again. Mira sat by the window looking at the fields passing by, feeling both excited and nervous. Lena leaned her head on her shoulder and whispered that they should sing for every person who ever felt small or unseen. The journey to the capital took many hours. The city was much larger than anything they had seen before. Tall buildings touched the sky, and bright lights filled the streets. The concert venue was grand, with golden walls and red carpets. The moment they stepped inside, they felt tiny among the crowd of professionals. But Mr. Daniel reminded them that they were there not for fame, but to share their truth through music. During rehearsal, the sound engineers adjusted the microphones and lights. When Mira and Lena sang the first few lines, even the technicians paused to listen. One of them whispered that their voices had something special that could not be created by any machine. Mr. Daniel smiled and told the twins that they had what no one else could copy: sincerity. After rehearsal, the girls sat near the stage and watched other performers. There were dancers, violin players, and solo singers from famous schools. Many of them wore fancy dresses and spoke confidently. Mira began to worry again. She asked Lena if they truly belonged there. Lena looked at her and said that they were chosen because of their hearts, not their clothes. Mira nodded slowly, feeling strength return to her. That evening, they stayed in a small guest house arranged by the organizers. Their mother had packed homemade food, and the smell reminded them of home. They sat by the window looking at the glowing city outside. Mira whispered that she wished their parents could see the concert. Lena said that even if they were far away, their hearts would hear every note. They joined hands and prayed silently for courage. The next morning, the hall was filled with hundreds of guests. Cameras were set up and the air buzzed with excitement. When the event began, a famous musician welcomed everyone and spoke about the power of young talent. Performers took the stage one after another, filling the hall with laughter, dance, and melody. Backstage, Mira and Lena waited for their turn. Their hearts beat fast, but their faces stayed calm. Mr. Daniel came to them one last time and said that they should sing as if they were by the river again, not in front of a crowd. He told them to forget about lights and cameras, to sing only for the people who needed hope. They nodded and smiled. When their names were announced, the hall lights dimmed. The spotlight fell on the small stage where the twin girls stood side by side in their blue dresses. The audience grew quiet. Mira took the first breath and Lena followed. The soft music began to play. Their voices rose together, gentle yet strong. The song spoke of love that crosses borders, of kindness that heals pain, of faith that never fades. Every word came from their hearts. As they sang, the hall seemed to change. The air became still and people listened without a sound. Even the children in the front row sat wide-eyed. Halfway through the song, Mira felt her throat tighten from emotion, but Lena placed her hand on hers and they continued together. Their harmony filled the hall like light breaking through clouds. Some people wiped tears quietly. Others closed their eyes and smiled. When the song ended, there was a long silence followed by thunderous applause. The audience stood up, clapping and cheering. Many shouted their names. The twins looked at each other with disbelief. They bowed deeply, tears shining in their eyes. Cameras flashed all around. The chief guest, a famous singer named Mrs. Alina, came on stage and hugged them both. She said their voices reminded her of why she fell in love with music. She told the audience that real art comes from pure hearts, not from wealth or fame. Her words made the crowd clap even louder. After the event, reporters and journalists surrounded the twins again. They asked about their story, their struggles, and their dreams. Mira said their dream was to build a small music school for children who could not afford lessons. Lena added that they wanted to show the world that talent has no class or color. Their answers touched everyone. The video of their performance spread across the country that same night. Television channels replayed it again and again. Social media was full of kind messages. People said the twin girls had reminded the world of kindness and unity. Some even wrote that they wanted their children to be like Mira and Lena. Back in their town, neighbors gathered around small screens to watch. Their parents sat together holding hands as tears rolled down their faces. Their little brother jumped with joy and shouted that his sisters were on television. The small house that once felt lonely now echoed with laughter and pride. When the twins returned home the next day, the whole town welcomed them like heroes. Flowers were thrown on their path and music played from loudspeakers. The principal gave them certificates of honor, and Miss Grace hugged them tightly. Mr. Daniel watched from a distance with a proud smile. He knew they had gone beyond all expectations. That evening, the twins sat once again near the river. The sun was setting and the sky was full of colors. Mira said that everything felt like a dream. Lena smiled and said dreams turn real when hearts stay honest. They sang softly to the rhythm of flowing water, the same way they had done when no one was watching. But deep inside, they knew this was not the end of their story. The world had just begun to hear their voices. Bigger stages and greater challenges waited for them. Yet they promised each other one thing, that no matter how far they went, they would never forget the small town, the river, and the people who believed in them. The morning after their return from the capital, Mira and Lena woke up early to the sound of birds outside their window. The sunlight touched their faces, and for a few moments they lay quietly, remembering everything that had happened. From being laughed at in school to standing on a national stage, it all felt like a story from another world. Yet it was real. Their medals hung on the wall, shining in the light. Their mother entered the room with breakfast and kissed their foreheads. She said the whole town was still talking about them. Their father smiled proudly and told them that their story had given hope to every hard-working person in town. Mira and Lena listened with shy smiles. They never wanted to be treated like stars. They just wanted to sing. Soon their small house was filled with visitors. Neighbors brought flowers and sweets while children asked for autographs on small pieces of paper. Reporters from a city newspaper came to write another article about them. They asked what the girls planned to do next. Mira said she wanted to finish school first, while Lena said they wanted to help other children find their voices too. Their mother listened from the kitchen, her eyes full of tears of pride. Later that week, Mr. Daniel came to visit. He carried a small envelope in his hand. He said he had received a message from the National Music Council. The letter invited Mira and Lena to perform at an international event in the nearby country. Famous artists from different nations would be there. It was a golden chance for them to share their message with the world. At first, the twins were speechless. Mira asked if it was really true, and Mr. Daniel nodded. Lena's eyes filled with tears of joy. Their parents were both happy and nervous. Their mother worried about travel costs, but Mr. Daniel said the organizers would cover everything. He also promised to travel with them. The next few weeks were full of preparation once again. The twins practiced for hours every day. Mr. Daniel chose a new song for them, one that spoke of peace and togetherness. He said that their voices could reach hearts beyond borders. Mira learned the lyrics carefully, while Lena worked on the harmony. They practiced until their voices flowed together like one. When the day of departure came, the whole town gathered at the bus station to say goodbye. Their principal gave them a flag of the school and told them to make everyone proud. Their mother packed homemade food and their father hugged them tightly. The twins promised to return with good news. The journey to the international venue was long. The event was held in a beautiful city filled with tall buildings and bright lights. The hall was larger than anything they had seen before. Flags of many countries decorated the walls. Performers from around the world were there, wearing colorful costumes and speaking in different languages. Mira and Lena were amazed but also nervous. They felt small again among so many talented people. Mr. Daniel reminded them that music had no language. It was a voice of the heart. He told them to sing with truth and the world would listen. During rehearsal, they met other singers who came to greet them kindly. A girl from another country said she had seen their video online and admired their story. Mira blushed while Lena smiled and said they were happy to be there. The sound team tested their microphones, and once again, when they sang the first few lines, the hall fell silent. Even the staff stopped to listen. The organizer said they had something special that came from honesty. On the evening of the concert, the audience filled every seat. People from different countries sat together waiting for the performances to begin. The twins stood backstage holding hands. Mira could hear her own heartbeat. Lena squeezed her hand gently and whispered that they should remember the river, the trees, and their home. Mira nodded with a smile. When their names were announced, they stepped onto the stage under a golden light. The hall grew quiet. The music began softly, and Mira started singing the first verse. Her voice floated like a breeze. Lena joined, her tone blending perfectly. The song spoke of a world without hate, a world where kindness was stronger than fear. Their voices rose together, strong and clear. The audience listened silently, as if every word touched their hearts. Faces in the crowd softened and some wiped away tears. Even people who did not understand their language could feel the meaning in their song. When the final note ended, the hall remained still for a few seconds. Then came the sound of applause, louder and longer than any they had ever heard. People stood up clapping and cheering. Some waved small flags of their countries. It was not just applause for two girls. It was applause for hope and unity. The host of the event walked onto the stage and hugged them. He said their song had reminded everyone that true music connects souls. Reporters rushed to take photos. Mira and Lena smiled shyly, overwhelmed by the love they received. After the show, many artists came to meet them. A famous musician offered to record their song and share it worldwide. Mr. Daniel was proud but told the twins that they should decide slowly, keeping their values first. The girls agreed. They knew that fame was a gift, but humility was what kept the heart pure. When they returned home, the town celebrated again. Their journey had become a symbol of faith. Schools invited them to speak to students. They told children to never feel small because dreams grow when you water them with hard work. Months passed, but their bond with the river never changed. Every weekend they went there to sing softly as the sun went down. It became their secret place of peace. One evening, as they sang, a little girl came near and asked if they could teach her too. Mira looked at Lena and both smiled. They agreed at once. From that day, more children began joining them near the river. Some had small voices, some shy smiles, but all had dreams. The twins started teaching them simple songs. Slowly, it became a small open-air music class. Their father built a wooden shade nearby, and their mother stitched cloth banners that said, "Voices of Hope." News spread again, and soon people from nearby towns brought their children too. Mr. Daniel helped them organize the lessons properly. He said they had built something beautiful, a place where every child, rich or poor, could sing without fear. Years passed. The little open-air school became bigger. Some of their students started winning small competitions. Mira and Lena grew up, but they never stopped teaching. They believed that sharing their gift was the best way to thank the world for believing in them. One evening, as they stood by the river watching the sunset, Mira said softly that everything began because of a joke. Lena nodded and said sometimes life turns cruel laughter into a beautiful song. Mira smiled and said they should always remember that moment on the school stage. It had changed everything. The sound of children singing nearby reached their ears. Their eyes filled with pride. They joined in softly, their voices blending with the younger ones. The river flowed calmly beside them, carrying their music far into the distance. That night, their parents sat outside their home, listening to the faint sound of singing coming from the river. Their father said that the girls had done more than he ever dreamed. Their mother smiled and said that the world had laughed at them once, but now listened to them with love. As the stars filled the sky, Mira and Lena walked back home hand in hand. They were not just singers anymore. They were teachers, dreamers, and symbols of hope. Their journey had begun in pain but ended in purpose. And though they had sung on great stages, the songs they loved most were still the ones they sang together by the quiet river, under the same sky that had always watched over them.